I've been testing the Prusa Core One for a bit now, and I've got to say, there's a lot I really love about this printer, and there's a few things I don't. Today, I'm gonna walk you through my honest experience with the Core One so far, what makes it great, and where I think it falls short. Now, just to be transparent, I was ready to order one of these up, but before I hit that buy button, Prusa reached out and offered to send me one instead. They have no input on this video at all, so everything you hear is my honest opinion. The Core One comes in at $949 for the kit version, or $1199 for the assembled model, which is what I'm reviewing here. I would have loved to have gotten the kit model and assembled it myself, but frankly, I just don't have the time. There are some advantages to picking up the kit rather than the fully assembled, and the big advantages of building the kit is you really get intimate with how this machine is, whereas when you get it assembled, you kind of have to play around to figure out how to fix stuff, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Design-wise, this thing is absolutely solid. It has steel sides, tinted acrylic polycarbonate panels, and Prusa's classic orange accents, which I think look awesome. It looks great, but more importantly, it feels really sturdy. It's a brick.
One other really nice feature is that they added these little orange accents here, but these are not just orange accents. They are actually handles for moving this thing around. I really like that idea. It definitely made moving this thing around a lot easier inside the studio here.
The wide opening door is probably one of my favorite features on the outside. It makes getting prints in and out really easily. I also love the tucked away spool holder and this little bump out on the opposite side, which could easily be turned into some clever storage. And there's also a status bar LED strip underneath the bed, which is a nice small touch, but it's pretty cool. Now, those acrylic panels look really nice, but they can scratch if you're not careful. The top panel is riveted in along with the acrylic pieces on the sides. Now, I get why they do that. It works great for keeping that heat in, but it can make working inside the machine quite a bit difficult when you have the riveted panels on the top. Now, I have seen some community mods for a magnetic top, which looks like a really cool upgrade, and I might just have to do that. The print volume is 250 by 220 by 270 millimeters, which is a sweet spot for a lot of projects. It ships with a 0.4 brass CHT nozzle, which is great for flow, and the stock build plate has been excellent. Prints stick really well and come off with a smooth bottom finish. Another feature I really like is the vent system. You can open it up for PLA or close it to hold in heat for when you're printing things like ABS, ASA, nylon, things like that. Now, when you're printing those more advanced materials, the printer will preheat the chamber to improve results. It does that by turning the bed up really hot and just holding in that heat as much as it can. Between that and the CoreXY motion, it feels really well thought out. So far, I've run some PLA, PETG, ABS, and TPU, and it's handled them all without any major issues. That said, there are some trade-offs. At this price point, I really wish it did ship with a hardened steel nozzle instead of brass. If you want that, it's an additional $53 from the Prusa website. There's also no built-in filtration system, which is kind of feeling like a little bit of a miss because a lot of printers are including those nowadays. Another kind of a miss is that there is no camera built in on this. It is an additional $40 if you want to add that on. It is easy to install from my understanding, but I don't have one. And I think both of these should have come standard on the machine in this price range. Like I mentioned previously, mine was the assembled version and the setup couldn't have been easier.
They've got little cardboard handles that you can fold out to help get this out of the box. That's pretty cool. So when you're removing the peels off your new printer, these little rivets like to come out if you're not careful. I actually had a couple come out, and thankfully they provide spares, so it was easy to get it swapped out. But just know, if you pull too hard on this, it could pull this out.
Packaging was solid, and I love that Prusa still includes their 3D printing handbook. It's a small thing, but it's genuinely helpful, especially for beginners. I connected the Core One through Prusa Connect, and I really like getting notifications on my phone when a print finishes or there is a problem. And Prusa Slicer obviously integrates beautifully. They're made to go together. And with that Prusa Connect app, it will tell you on whether or not you should have the vent open or closed, depending on the material that you're printing, as a quick little notification. One of the biggest reasons I like this machine is the upgrade path. If you own a Mark IV, you can literally buy a kit to turn it into a Core One. That is such a cool option, and it really shows that Prusa's commitment to open source and right to repair. Typically, one of my larger concerns with any printer that you buy is how easy it is to repair it and how available those parts are. Prusa does a phenomenal job. You can completely rebuild this from scratch if you need to. Even better, a lot of the parts that are on this machine are 3D printed, so it's very easy to print out a replacement if you need to. You can find the files right on printables to print out a new piece. Now, I did have a Prusa Mini that I bought used that had a broken piece on it, and I was able to go onto printables and find the file to print and make a new one. I think that's awesome. I really love that Prusa does that. I think that is a huge step to right to repair and just the ability to fix this thing if you need to. Yeah, I can't stress enough on how important it is to be able to easily repair these yourself and have those parts available. Now, not all my prints were flawless. On one roll of wet filament, the nozzle clogged up until I dried it out. I did try to print this default file on the machine and it failed horribly because the filament was so wet. I was able to dry it out and get a much better print. Now, I did still have an issue with the fin for some reason. I'm not sure what happened here, but overall, this printed beautifully in the Prusa Galaxy Black PLA. A few of my test models showed VFAs on the smooth surfaces, and removing supports on a complex print like this xenomorph pin holder was pretty rough. Now, to be fair, most of this wasn't the printer's fault. A lot of it comes down to the filament condition or slicer settings. But it's worth pointing out if you're expecting every print to be perfect straight out of the box. I did try to print out this really cool Yoda figurine. The first time it failed. Unfortunately, the little staff didn't have any supports on it, so it's just tumbled over. The print would have finished without this, but I went ahead and stopped it, and I tried scaling it down. This one did print all the way, but same thing, the staff fell off. Now, this isn't the printer's fault. This was a lack of supports in the file. Maybe adding some brim would have been an easy solution to fixing this. Now, like I mentioned before, I did print this xenomorph pen holder. This thing printed out so cool, but the supports coming off of this were awful. It did not want to come off very easy. I printed this in the Prusa PLA Galaxy Black, and overall, the print quality is beautiful. There's no issues here. I really do like this. I've always heard that the Prusa printers with its Nextruder can handle TPU really well. So I wanted to make sure that I did a small test for the TPU. I printed out this cute little keychain of a reindeer, I think is what it was. It is in TPU, so it is nice and squishy. And as you can see, it printed out beautifully. There's really no issues at all on this. There's a hair bit of stringing on the top, but that could just be because the filament is a little wet. I did also try and print out this little Slinky dog. I did notice that there is a glossiness shift after it finished the main body. The top half of the head and the tail is quite a bit more shiny. And for something that is a bit functional, I printed out this little GoPro adapter for my DJI Pocket 3. This was also in the Galaxy Black PLA, and it printed out gorgeously. There was no supports back here, and it did really well. And one of my favorite test prints that was loaded on this machine is this rocket booster. This thing is so cool. The only problem is that it used up a ton of filament. I think this ended up using like half a roll of filament, and I didn't really want to use that much, but I'm glad I did because this is super cool. This is a really good test to see how well this printer did. But overall, it handled everything awesomely. And to really test out this printer, I printed out this little basket out of PETG. It probably could have used a nice dry, but it printed out really nicely. There is some shifts on the matte to the glossy, quite a bit on this one. The machine does have a really nice screen here. You have the dial that you can use to move everything around, but it is also a touchscreen, so you can just click into whatever you want to do. I do like that they included a really nice flash drive. It looks like to be kind of metal, and it's just really nice to see. The interface is really easy to use as well. So if you want to print, you can find all your previous prints here. I can go back. If you want to load up your filament, it's very easy. Load filament, unload, change, purge, some settings. I haven't really played around in here too much. I don't have a camera, so I don't know why that's on. I have used this printer for 6 days and 20 hours, so I do feel that I have enough time on this to really get a good idea of how it does. I do have one more small complaint. It's a very small complaint, but I understand why it's there. Is this bar right here is in the way of trying to get really nice time lapses. A nice another quick little design choice is that there is only a small lip right here, so it is easy to kind of clean out and get any filament that has fallen out.
Let me also take just a quick moment to mention how well they lit up the inside of this printer. It does a phenomenal job of lighting up the inside of this printer. Even with the door closed, you can really see what's going on inside. Never mind the reflection of my studio light.
And for those wondering, this does have Wi-Fi built in along with an Ethernet port on the back. So you're covered in terms of everything you need to get this connected up. So here's the bottom line. There's a lot that I love about the Core One. The design, the usability, the chamber heating, and the upgrade path. All are really solid. But there are a few things that I don't love too, like the lack of a hardened nozzle, there's no built-in filtration system, and the add-on camera and the riveted top. For me though, the good far outweighs the bad. I really enjoy this machine. In fact, I really wanted this machine, and I'm so glad that I have one now. I think it's a strong option for anyone looking for an enclosed CoreXY printer that's reliable and designed to grow with you. And honestly, even though Prusa sent this printer out for me to test, I'd been happy if I had bought it with my own money. That's how much I enjoyed using it. That's my take on the Prusa Core One. What I love, what I don't. But before you go, you should absolutely check out this main competitor right here for this printer, which is the Bambu Lab X1 Carbon.